Hi there. I'm Ben, and I'm a certified home inspector, and today we're going to inspect that house. Every home should be inspected by a certified home inspector so that we can catch small problems before they become too big to fix ourselves. And let's get my toolbox. And also, we want to inspect our homes because our homes should be safe, functioning, and healthy. And that's one of the main reasons to get a home inspection. Nowadays, homeowners really don't know the condition of the home until somebody takes a look at it. And so I've got some tools to take a look at this home. I've got my indoor only shoes, got my drone, got some infrared cameras and flashlights. So I've got my tools. Now, let's go meet a home inspector, my buddy, Jarrett Vogler from Legacy Home Inspections. He's gonna help us out, do this home inspection for us today. Hey, Jarrett.
Hey, Ben, good morning. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Jarrett, you are a North Carolina home inspector.
That's correct, yep.
You are an InterNACHI certified home inspector.
I am indeed.
And you are a certified master inspector.
Yes, indeed.
That's the best of the best
Indeed,
of inspections.
there's very few of us here.
Yeah, awesome. How long have you been a home inspector?
I've been inspecting now for about 4 years.
And where are you located?
We're based primarily out of Morrisville, but we service the entire Triangle area. We will go a little bit further out.
So you'll travel?
We'll travel.
Awesome.
Yep.
We're here to do a home inspection for the property owner.
Correct, yep. They're thinking about listing this home, so they're
Yep.
going to do a pre-listing inspection today. And we're going to go through, check all of their systems so that
Yeah.
they can have a thorough report and thorough inspection before they go on to market.
Great. Where do you start first?
So I typically start on the outside. I'll start with the roof.
Okay.
And then work my way kind of down and around the house, taking a look at the exterior systems first. This one has a basement, so there's no crawl space for us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's where I start at.
And along the way, you'll be using software,
Correct. I use Spectora.
Spectora, and you'll be taking pictures.
Absolutely.
And all of that will be in a nice comprehensive report at the end.
Indeed. Yep.
That's really good.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's go. Let's
All
do
right,
an inspection.
Let's go ahead. Let's get started. These are 12 power Vortex,
Yep.
very powerful
Yeah.
binoculars. And I can see, luckily with this roof, we've got enough angles that I'm going to be able to see all of it with the binoculars.
Yep.
We'll see on the backside if it drops off a little too much, but we'll kind of go from there.
It doesn't look very old.
No, it doesn't. This roof looks relatively new. Just
Yeah.
from looking at it, I can tell the caulking along the apron flashings
Yeah.
is relatively new as
Yeah.
well. These will help me get a really close-up view,
Yeah.
almost as if I'm standing on the eaves.
Sure, sure.
To look at it.
All right, let's take a look around.
So what I'm looking at up here, I'm looking along the ridge cap
Yeah.
to see the caulking there, if they caulked over the nails
Hmm.
on the ridge cap, see if anything's loose, see if I see any cracking in the shingles. Maybe I see some impact damage or something like that
From a hailstorm,
from a hailstorm.
maybe some wind.
Yep, maybe
damage.
some wind lifted some shingles up, something like that.
So the caulking is good.
The caulking is very good. Yeah, the valleys look really nice. I don't see any cracking anywhere. It looks like everything's secure.
Yeah.
They've got their drip edge along the rake boards.
And that's where the shingles kind of end on the edge of the roof.
Correct, yep.
That's so it just drips away from the.
Correct, it helps seal that gap between the fascia board and the bottom of the
Yeah.
shingle, yep.
Yep. Cool.
So, looks very good. All right, so I've spotted our first problem here.
Yeah. What's that?
So right up here in the very corner where
Yeah.
this little window is,
Yeah.
there's actually a crack, a horizontal crack in the brick veneer.
Oh. Oh,
And
I
I've
don't
spotted
even
that
see
with
that.
the binoculars.
Yeah, I can't see that with my eyes.
Yeah.
So it's good to use that.
Yep,
And that's, I see it now, bottom left.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So we're gonna take our software and we're gonna take a picture of that
Okay.
and check a box and we'll move on.
Do you take a lot of pictures?
I do, so on every home inspection, we take on average about 200 pictures.
Whoa.
And every picture gets delivered to the homeowner.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way they have everything, even if it's just educational pictures, like where their shut-off valves and stuff are. That way they know what they look like.
Yeah.
So it's not just in writing.
Right. Right. Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Correct. And if we ever have to go back to them for some reason, we have that library of pictures
Yeah.
that we can refer to.
So Jarrett saw that there's a crack, and you can't see it with your own eyes, and I doubt the homeowner even knows, but there's a large crack in the brick. That's a structural component, bottom left corner of the window, right over there, there's a small roof that comes up, and there's a window shutter, and right around there, there's a brick. So something has settled a little bit, and we don't want that because the opening of the crack in the mortar joint may allow some water to penetrate the house. So we want to patch that up.
Second story, you can see the apron flashing.
Yeah.
And how it's separating from the shingles.
Yeah.
So those nails have backed out.
Yep.
It looks like one of them's probably corroded.
Yep.
Those nails, they're not galvanized, so they'll corrode, and you
Yep.
can actually get a roof leak.
Yeah. Yep.
But we want to make sure that flashing gets resecured in place.
There's an attic window up there, and below the attic window,
Yep.
there's a piece of metal in between the vertical brick and the angled roof, and that metal should be nice and tight.
Correct.
So water, especially wind-driven rain, doesn't go underneath that flashing.
Correct.
And so we've got a little issue up there. So now we've got like one roofer. We need a recommendation for a roofer,
Yep.
maybe right there. Recommendation maybe for a
Masonry
contractor.
yeah,
something up there.
contractor, something like that.
Yep.
Yep. So again, same thing over here. So now we've got some of these plumbing vents
Yeah.
coming out through the roof on this side. So
Yep.
when we inspect these, we start looking for whether the pipe has been sealed to the rubber with caulking. Sometimes that's not a requirement based on your jurisdiction. However, it is a best practice.
Just to prevent that water from getting in there.
Correct, and getting into the roof deck and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So this one's actually got some decayed caulking on that, so I'm gonna
All right.
mark that and
Yep.
we'll move on.
Yeah, so anywhere there's any kind of hole through the roof, that needs to be watertight. And there's a hole that's been drilled through the roof, through the shingles, and the vent pipe is through there. And now the thing that's in between the pipe itself and the roof needs to be watertight. And that flashing there needs to be sealed up.
Correct.
And the same kind of settlement crack I see. They may have,
Yeah, and that one
patched it
looks
up.
like it's been repaired.
yeah.
Yep.
So there's a crack in the brick right above that little roof there.
Yep.
One row up, that mortar joint is cracked.
Yep. And that's a pretty large crack. It runs for several feet.
Yeah.
So there may be an anchoring problem with the veneers anchoring or something like that. We don't necessarily have to diagnose the issue,
Yeah.
but we need to let the homeowner know that it's there for
Yep.
sure.
I see some more cracking above the little window. Maybe that's a bathroom window there.
Yep, indeed.
So some settlement cracks here and there.
Here and there.
And we don't, like you said, we don't have to diagnose, but so far the story of the house is, I like to think of it as a story. Like you've got some cracking going on at the
Right,
bricks.
there's something going on. There's an indication of a problem.
Yeah, and this is just one area or one
Right.
thing. Now we've got 3 different areas where there's cracking, and
Indeed.
somebody already knew the one, they already patched that one,
Right.
but maybe there are other things.
Right. Likely the homeowner has no idea that that's even there.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at every plane of the house. I'm also looking at those vents that we saw. The ones with the roof leaks. And there's the ridge vent there. So for example, I can inspect the ridge vent from the ground. I'm just a few feet away. And I can see the vents coming through the roof. I can see the porch roof. I can get a better view from above. as I pan my camera down. And I'm taking a 4K video of everything as well. And it all looks really good. And we don't see any of the problems really. So what I'll do is I'll give my client this video. But first, what I'm actually going to do is take it back to my office. Because right now, I'm just looking through my little mobile camera to look for defects. But since I have 4K, I can take this back and actually do like a little research project on it and take my time and make my opinions. So I'm gonna go on the other side of this roof. And I can see if the gutter needs to be cleaned or not, which is really cool. So as an example, I'm just gonna fly across to the corner here. I'm only a couple feet away from the gutter. I can look down the gutter end. I can fly even to a lower roof and get a good close-up shot of the lower roof as well. And fly right across. Do a little turn. Come on back home. And that's valuable information that I provided to my client within a few minutes without leaving the safety of the ground. All right, so you got a good idea of the roof.
Indeed.
A couple things.
Yeah, a couple small issues, nothing major.
Yeah.
Overall, the roof looks like it's in relatively decent shape.
Yeah. Nothing surprising that isn't normal for a house this age.
Correct. Yeah. Typical stuff. Caulking is exposed to the elements.
Yep.
So it's usually the first thing that goes bad.
Yeah.
We consider that a routine homeowner maintenance item. It's
Yeah.
got to be replaced every so often. So.
Will you take a look underneath the roof in the attic if there's access?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll climb up in there. Usually there's equipment up there, furnaces, sometimes water heaters.
Yeah.
Very rarely, but they are up there every now and then.
Yeah.
We'll look at the structural members, the trusses, whether it's stick built or engineered truss, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next?
Next, we're going to grab the exterior stuff and we're going to do another loop around the outside of the house, take a look at the siding, the eaves, the soffit plates, check outlets, windows, doors.
All right.
That kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
All right, let me go grab some tools.
Let's do it. So while Jared is grabbing his tools, I noticed this. So we've got a downspout here and it's dumping a lot of water right here. And that's no good. You want to discharge all of your roof water as far away as possible from the house. So this is a maintenance issue. It's very easy to do. You can get a little fitting with a pipe at a Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. But the gutter above us is collecting a lot of water during a heavy rainstorm. In this climate in Raleigh, North Carolina, it rains a lot. And this is hundreds of gallons of water coming right here. And this is an old pipe here. It's been disconnected and we can just fix that. I don't think it can be reattached. So this is a good homeowner weekend job with a shovel, some piping, a little visit to a local hardware store. But the issue is water. Water's really great, but it can destroy a home, and it can make things settle and rot. And so we want to reattach this downspout to get water far away from the house as possible.
Already I can see something that we would call out.
Yeah.
And it would be all these vines growing up the siding of the house.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been removed at some point before. But vegetation in contact with siding will trap moisture up against it.
Yeah.
It's more of an issue with older siding,
Yeah.
when it's not fiber cement, if it's masonite or LP Smart siding or something like that.
Yeah.
But these vines can actually push the siding out. It
Yeah.
can cause cracking, it can cause moisture intrusion, stuff like that.
And I've noticed that it's also a pathway for like ants.
Yes, ants
So
will use
ants
it.
would just follow right up right
Indeed,
into the
yeah.
house.
You may as well give them a ladder and let them climb on in.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe cutting the vines just isn't enough, right? You got to tear all this stuff down.
Yep.
Because now I think it looks like maybe even a little nest is being used up there.
Yep.
But all that really green growth that we call it what? Dense vegetation.
Dense vegetation.
Up against the house.
Yep. We want to
is-
trim that
Yeah.
maybe 12 inches or so back, and it's going to be an annual recurring
Yep.
homeowner
Yeah.
maintenance
Yeah.
problem. So this type of siding is fiber cement.
Yeah.
When this house was installed, they did not require any flashing in between the butt joints.
Yeah.
So you can see the butt joints have all been caulk sealed.
Yep.
So again, that's another routine homeowner maintenance item.
Yeah.
I can see some of it's already cracking already.
Yep.
So that old caulk needs to be scraped out
Yeah.
and resealed.
Yeah. So where the two pieces come together,
Correct.
that's a butt joint.
Yep.
And yeah, according to the manufacturer, like there should be a piece of flashing in there, but it all depends on where you're located and when the house is
when
built.
the house was built,
Yeah,
right? It wasn't always required. Nowadays, in new construction, we would want to see that flashing.
Because again, an opening in the siding is a place for water to penetrate.
Exactly.
through.
Yep.
And in that corner, Jarrett, another downspout
Yep.
that's not discharging water away from the house. There's a little bend in it, but it's just dumping all that roof water right there.
Yep. So here in North Carolina, we want to see a splash guard.
Yeah.
You know, the little trays like these here.
Yep.
We want to see those tucked underneath the downspout again, just to direct that water away from the foundation wall.
Yeah. And why are these trays here?
These trays probably belong over
They
there.
do.
They may have dragged them over to help with some of this.
Right.
They've got a lot of water coming out of this condensate drain. And
Yeah.
it was probably backwashing a little bit. So
I
they
think
use this to kind
yeah,
of
they're
reinforce
using
the
this
mulch bed.
To hold back the mulch
Yep.
and to hold back this water, which isn't working.
No.
So this is a condensate drain pipe,
Correct.
and it's dumping water right here.
Yep. And it's standing, and it's been standing for a while. You can
Yep.
see the coloration of it.
And right there, that's the basement floor.
That's the basement floor. Yep.
Yep. It's not 6 inches, a foot above the ground. It's like right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So getting water far away from the house. Oh, here's another downspout.
Correct.
Right next to the bottom of this is the house. This
Yes.
is wood.
Yep. That's the basement.
Yep. This is a wood structure right here.
Yep.
And water and wood do not mix very well.
No. Now this one looks like it's sloped away.
Yeah.
So this one's probably draining a little bit better, whereas this side is not.
Yep.
We're going to take a look at this deck structure, see how they attached it to the house.
Yep.
We're looking for those 5/8 galvanized steel bolts in the ledger board
Yeah.
that hold it to the house. And the flashing underneath it extends out over the siding, which is always
Great.
good. Yep. They even went a little above and beyond and put some flashing up there along the first row of deck board.
Yep.
So I'm not seeing any issues here.
Because historically, that's been a problem with some decks, many decks.
Correct.
Where that ledger board there, where the floor structure of the deck is attached to the house, behind it, there's been some history of water penetration getting behind
Indeed.
there and then rotting things out, and it's not attached to the house and it falls.
Right. And we'll see a lot of that penetration at the back door
Yeah.
leading to the deck. We'll see it first start in the flooring materials
Yeah.
around the door or
Yeah.
the bottoms of the door.
Yeah.
And it's usually an indication that something isn't flashed properly
Yeah.
here.
But this is obviously flashed. I mean,
Yeah, this looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I don't see any issues here. So these wood framed windows,
Yep.
these will change with seasonality. Sometimes in the middle of summer and 100% humidity, you may not be able to get these open.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind for egress,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Sometimes painters will paint over them. These ones look like they're in pretty good shape, but we still tell the homeowner about the wood windows or a buyer if they're looking at a potential property.
They could swell and stick.
They could swell and stick, and sometimes, especially veterans, if they're using VA benefits,
Yeah.
the VA inspector may require that all these windows be operational.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
Down here it all looks good. I don't see any cracking. I don't see any damages. They nailed the ledger strip correctly. We've got bird's nests right here. And they've actually installed some of these little spikes to help prevent some of that bird nesting.
Yep.
Nesting, again, is going to trap moisture up against wood members. We don't want to see that. Check that door sill. So fast. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Here's a good one. Little retaining wall. So this crack here in the retaining wall, big horizontal crack like that, this may have been parge coated again at some point. We will want to keep an eye on this. Horizontal cracking in a retaining wall is back pressure from the weight and the pressure of earth behind it. You can see here's an issue right here, this floodlight.
Yep.
It's not mounted to the soffit plate properly, so it's hanging down.
It's hanging down.
That's an entrance point for birds, squirrels, anything that wants to get into that attic space through that soffit plate will have the opportunity to do so.
It's also an electrical thing because anything loose with electricity.
Absolutely. Any weight on that electrical connection is going to, could damage that connection or expose live electrical wires potentially.
Also notice here, if you look on edge on this wall here, you got one board of the screened in wall, kind of like curved out.
Yeah, bowing out a little bit.
Yeah.
I see this one here, it's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a curve in the wood.
Correct, yeah. Generally, those are considered cosmetic. Even minor cracking in it, given the temperature, humidity, and a lot of that has to do with the climate that we're in here in North Carolina. Generally doesn't cause structural issues. However, significant movement, significant cracking could be referred to a structural engineer.
Yeah. Cool.
We go up the stairs, I tend to pull on the railings a little bit, check, make sure they're all solid. They're at the right height off of the nose board.
Yep.
All that good stuff.
Boy, this feels solid.
This feels really good. The nails look really good. I don't see much decay in the surface of the wood. Not seeing any spots of rot.
And the space between the spindles of the guard seem to be close enough.
Seem to be close enough. We generally use our fist.
Yeah.
As long as we can't pass through, we're good.
It's for little kids.
It's for little kids, correct. Yeah, we don't want anybody sticking their head through there or, God forbid, going over the side.
Yeah.
This deck is quite high, so that would not be a good drop.
Yep.
But this looks really good from up here. Yeah, I don't see many issues up here at all.
No.
We have an outlet here, so we'll go ahead and test that. We've got a little bit of wood decay here. It's starting to set in. It's mostly in the paint, but if this isn't sealed up, water's going to get into this. So we'll want the homeowner to take care of it or have a contractor take care of it.
So I'm going to help out Jarrett. All receptacles on the outside need to be protected by a GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. And it doesn't have to necessarily be here. It's those receptacles with a button, or it could be a breaker with a button. But the way I test the receptacle that's outside to see if it's GFCI protected is I can see that it's wired up, and I'm going to push this button and see what happens. It turned off. Now, the reset button is somewhere inside the house. I couldn't hear it when it tripped, so it could be in the garage, could be in the bathroom, could be an electrical panel. Somewhere inside the house, there's a reset button so we can plug things back in and have electricity at this receptacle. Turned off so that no one gets shocked, and that's a good thing. But bad thing is we have to find the reset button, right?
Correct. Yep. We don't want to leave the homeowner without power, so we should reset it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the bow in that pillar.
Yeah.
Quite a bit there.
Boy, it's a big 6x.
Indeed, yeah. So we can check to see if it's still plumb.
Ah, so you bring it a little level?
I bring a little level and I can check stuff like that.
Yeah.
If it's extreme or if it's no longer plumb, I'll say something about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they're still plumb, so and I don't see any issues in the surrounding components that make me think that there's an issue here.
Yeah, yeah.
We got another outlet there in the box.
Yep.
All exterior outlets are GFCI protected, or they should be. So they've got a fireplace here. This might be an issue here because they have this Time Warner plastic box here right next to it.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of heat coming out of that might cause issues with that box, but I don't see any issues with it right now at the time of the inspection. Next, we've got this electric meter set here. This house is equipped with a 400 amp service. It's got two main 200 amp breakers. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take these covers off, check if the meter is solid. And then inside the house, somewhere in the garage or maybe a basement utility room, I would expect to see two sub panels that carry all the distribution lines throughout the house.
So those are main disconnects.
These are main service disconnects, correct.
If you want to turn off all the power to the house, you got to
Correct, yep.
go there
Just
and there.
one big switch to shut everything off. We'll move on to the AC system here. And what we've got here are 3 split systems. That very first one obviously has some issues that we'll talk about, but we can already tell just by looking at it that this isn't level.
Right.
This is leaning way back. This is going to cause issues with the compressor motor and the fan bearings in here,
Yep.
and potentially shorten its expected service life.
Yep.
This unit will have to be repaired at some point if
Yeah.
it stays in its current condition.
Yeah.
So we'd want to see them level out the pad that it sits on. Sometimes they can shim it up, put a little dirt underneath it,
Yeah.
something like that to help extend its service life.
Now this is a original to the house, and you would assume
Yeah.
that the homeowner had the HVAC system serviced and cleaned.
Correct.
But the technician never came out here and leveled it off.
Correct. And depending on the drainage,
Yeah.
sometimes the drainage issues can cause that. I don't see much water behind it. So over time, these things will just settle out like this.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, if you have your annual maintenance, this is something that they would take care of
Yeah.
and fix.
They should have.
They
taken
should
care of
have. Yeah, absolutely.
it. Well, they're going to take care of it now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Certainly before they go to market,
Yeah.
because another inspector's going to see this and flag it.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. Got to get things inspected.
Yep. So some of the things that we check with the HVAC systems, we'll check the tonnage. We'll check, it'll tell us which floor, if it's been marked properly,
Yep.
which floor services what. We'll judge, generally speaking, terms of if it's the correct size
Yeah.
for the amount of square footage that it has, and then go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So wherever, just like the roof, wherever there is a penetration through a system that's supposed to prevent water from entering the house, like this, it's supposed to be sealed up. So right here, we have the conduit that allows the refrigerant line, electrical line to this unit to go through this exterior wall, but it should be sealed up. It's very easy to do. I would say the technician should have done it. Just seal this up with some silicone, stops air from escaping the house or entering the house, and also bugs.
Yep.
And this is an exhaust pipe, maybe from the heating system,
Correct.
and then it should be sealed as well. There's a little bit of mortar here, but it should be sealed up. Now this is a hole. It shouldn't be sealed up. This is a drainage hole.
Correct.
So you just can't go around and start sealing things up.
Yep.
This is a weep hole to allow water that may get behind the brick to escape. So just because there's a hole doesn't mean, oh, then there's another hole there.
Yep.
That's another weep hole.
Yep.
So you can't just fill up every hole. You have to have an inspector tell you which ones to
Correct.
fill up.
Yeah, and that's a code change as well. It's gone from every 4 feet for a weep hole to
Yeah.
every 3 feet now.
Yeah.
So every 3 to 4 bricks, we expect to see a weep hole along that top of that foundation wall.
Yep, yep. So this one's in good shape.
This one looks like it's in good shape.
And
This
new.
looks much newer.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's been installed properly. It's nice and level. I wouldn't expect too many issues with this one, if any at all.
Yeah.
So
But that one,
that one,
I've never
again,
seen actually that one so bad. I
yeah,
haven't
this is
seen
definitely one of the worst ones I've ever seen as
Yeah.
far as being canted over.
Yep.
Um,
So it should not be at this angle. It should
Correct.
be relatively level.
relatively level within. There are certain tolerances for how far it can be off. We don't necessarily have to know those tolerances, but an HVAC technician
Yep.
certainly would be able to take care of that.
And we've got some pipes
Yep.
from probably the high efficiency heating systems.
Yep, those are likely the air intake
Yep.
systems, and then the other two are exhaust pipes.
Exhaust pipes. So air is going into a heating system here,
Right.
another intake for another heating system there,
Yep.
an exhaust pipe coming out.
Exactly.
And you've got a vent hood here, maybe for some fresh air or something.
Yeah, it may be a downstairs bathroom in the
Bathroom.
basement.
Yep.
It could be, I don't see any lint discharge, so it may not be the laundry room.
Yep.
But usually bathroom exhaust fans look like that.
Yep. And the refrigerant lines, they're in good shape.
Yep.
2 condensate pipes
Yep.
from the air conditioners.
And these
the
are
units.
extended way out, well past the foundation wall, so we're not concerned about them.
Yep.
Yep.
And basically, like, a lot of what a home inspector does is identifying
Correct.
components.
Exactly.
Just, what is this?
Right.
And is it okay?
Right. Right. Exactly. Is it okay? What do I know about this? What am I looking at? So this unit, yeah, I would be more concerned about this one when we do an air test on the inside. We'd want to pay particular attention to what the intake temperature is and what the output temperature is.
Yep.
This could be an indication of some other issues
Yep.
already going.
Yep. And what about that gas meter? What is the story there?
Yeah, so the gas meter there, you see the ground wire coming up the wall?
Yep.
So that's called a bonding jumper. And that bonding jumper is there to protect the gas meter from potential lightning strikes. It's going to send that power back to the house's main grounding system and dissipate it through a ground rod.
Yeah.
That bonding wire is very important, particularly if you have a lot of CSST or corrugated stainless steel tubing.
Yep.
We find that a lot here in North Carolina. That bonding jumper, they used to place it anywhere in the house, and sometimes it'd be in a wall somewhere so you couldn't
Right.
see it. But now we want to see it right here at the
Yeah.
gas meter so that we can verify
Yep.
that it is bonded correctly.
Yeah.
It looks like they may have had some drainage issues here as well because they've used the splash guards to kind of build a makeshift retaining wall around it. And also I see a main waste cleanout valve right inside of here, right next to the gas meter.
Yeah.
So.
They didn't want that to be buried with all the mulch and landscaping.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So they may have cut it off a little too short, below grade, something like that.
Yeah.
We'd expect to see tracer wires on both the gas meter. I could see the yellow one.
The yellow
there.
wire there. Yeah.
Yep. And then we would see another one on the waste cleanout
Yep.
valve, depending on when the house is built.
Yeah.
New construction would definitely be required. Older construction, it may not have been required at the time.
So the main thing on this side of the house is
Yeah, we're a little concerned about this guy.
Yeah.
We want to make sure this gets taken care of.
Yep.
One thing here about the exterior doors.
Yeah.
Even though they're rated as exterior doors, the
Yeah.
lumber that they use in the door frames is not pressure treated. So
Right.
what we like to see is down here at the bottom where it meets the sill plate or the threshold.
Yep.
We want to see this joint caulk sealed.
Yeah.
It'll prevent wicking up into the lumber, and that's how you get wood rot in the first foot or so of your door frame.
Right. So this isn't pressure treated.
Right.
It's probably not naturally durable, like, I don't know, cedar or something.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So it's going to wick water.
Right, absorb that water up off of that sill plate.
Yep.
So we want to see that joint caulk sealed. It helps extend the life of the door frame. Another downspout here. Check, make sure that's nice and secure. Don't see any cracking up here, anything concerning. Beautiful beadboard ceiling up there. I don't see any sagging, anything around the light fixtures. Looks good.
Yeah, it does. I'm a stickler for those downspouts.
Yeah, that one looks like it might be a little loose, but there's really no way for us to get back there.
And what about the driveway?
Yeah,
It's
so
made
we'll
out
take
of concrete and it's cracking.
Yep. Yeah, so minor cracking in concrete. This is something that I would call minor.
Yeah.
It's less than 1/4 of an inch. That's usually caused by shrinkage.
Yeah.
And it cracks on the day that it's poured.
Yeah.
And it's caused by that contraction as it dries out. Now this one here is showing some signs of displacement.
Yeah.
Where it's starting to slip past each other, and I can feel a lip here. So displacement is an indication of that soil shift.
Yeah.
Underneath it, and it's starting, one side starting to sink or the other side starting to raise up.
Yeah.
That one I would recommend having a contract specialist come take a look at it.
Yep.
Anything wider than 1/4 of an inch or displacing like this, we would recommend a specialist.
I was with a home inspector and he had a line. There's 2 types of concrete. Concrete that's cracked and concrete that will crack.
That's right. That's all anybody ever needs to know about concrete. It's gray and it cracks. So it's good here. They put a little bit of a drainage swell in there.
Yeah.
To help drive some of that
Yeah, it's
off.
sloped away.
Yep.
From the house.
We'll take a look over here on the garage doors, on the siding. around the window frames. Make sure the caulking where the windows meets the bricks, make
Yep.
sure that's all there. Those look good. Garage doors look good. The weather stripping underneath the doors.
Yep.
Sometimes we'll see that those get cut short. You got a little bit of wood decay starting in there, that
Yep.
hairline cracking in the wood there.
Yep.
But no, these look great.
Cool.
Yep. That's pretty much it for the outside stuff.
So we did the roof and exterior.
Roof and exterior. Yeah.
Found a few things.
Found a few things, indeed.
And that'll all be in your report.
And that's all going to be in the report, correct.
So what do you want to do next?
Let's go to the attic, and we'll work our way from the attic and go down.
Okay. Cool.
All right. All right. So remember on the outside, I was talking
Yeah.
about the vent boots. And
Yeah.
And if they're not sealed properly.
Yeah.
This is kind of the end result of that, and this happens over time.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and step in here. We'll test this with a moisture meter,
Yep.
and we'll see if it's active.
Yep.
It's reading about 1%, maybe 2% here.
That's not much.
That's not much. So we would generally consider this to be dry. It may be from an older issue
Yep.
that was previously fixed. We would recommend this for monitoring and a roofing contractor
Yeah.
to assess.
So you saw something on the outside, and now we confirm it
And now
on
we
the
confirmed
inside.
it on the inside,
Yeah.
correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
We'll take a look at the HVAC system
Yeah.
here.
So what do we have?
So this is a Goodman HVAC system with the whole home filter. So when we go throughout the house on the intakes, we wouldn't see the normal filter. It's actually up here.
Yeah. So up here is a really high efficiency air filter
Correct.
that the homeowner needs to.
Yep. This probably has to be changed maybe once every 6 months instead of once every 30 days.
And this is a gas-fired heating and air conditioning unit.
Yep.
There's the gas line,
Yep.
gas shut off.
Yep.
The burner is there.
Yep.
And we saw the newer air conditioner on the outside, and here's the refrigerant line.
There's your refrigerant line going into your evaporator coils.
So do you turn on both the heating and cooling systems? Do you test them out? What do you do?
We will, depending on what type of system that we have. Since this is gas fired, we can check the heat year round.
Yeah.
With heat pumps, though, the manufacturer recommends that we don't test it
Yeah.
if it's over 60 or 65 degrees.
Yeah.
So to prevent damage, we won't test the heat pumps,
Yep.
but we will test these. And now I can see that the technician has already installed access holes. That's that piece of tape there.
Yeah.
To do what's called a 4T test. And that's the most accurate way of measuring intake and output temperatures.
Yeah.
Because we get to do it right here at the unit itself.
And there should be a difference between what's going into it and what's coming out.
Correct, yeah. On the AC side, we want to see a minimum of 15-degree difference.
Yeah.
And on the heat side, we'd want to see 20, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, depending on what efficiency system we have.
And that essentially measures if it's working.
Correct.
It isn't just like listening and seeing if it turned on. You're
Correct.
actually measuring the temperature difference.
Correct,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
And then
That's really
we
good.
will take the covers off of this, look at the burner chamber, look for any signs of corrosion on the inside.
Yeah.
We don't take the heat exchanger itself apart,
Right.
because that requires disassembly of the unit.
Yeah. And what's underneath here? This looks like a pan of some
Yep,
kind.
so this is a secondary catch pan. This is in case this line here backs up for some reason.
Yeah.
This will catch the water and alert you that you have an issue. Underneath that side there's a float switch.
Yeah.
If that pan fills up for some reason, it's going to hit the float switch and shut the system off so that you know that you have an issue.
Well, you're saying water. So this is the evaporator
That's
coil.
the evaporator coil.
And when the air conditioner is on, this is the component that turns on, and it's cool.
Yep.
And it makes condensate water.
Indeed.
And then it's got a drip.
Yep, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it goes out through this P-trap.
Right. And if there's a problem with that,
Yep.
this is the backup catch.
Correct.
Because underneath us is the entire house.
Right, it's all the
We don't
finished
want-
square footage.
We don't want
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
And looks like dry. It's
Yeah, it looks dry.
Yeah.
So I don't see any issues there.
Okay.
They've got an air gap here on the condensate drain line,
Yeah.
and it's installed at the proper height.
Yep.
So that air gap just helps equalize that negative pressure in that line
Yeah.
and prevents siphoning of that P-trap.
Okay. What else do you do when you're up in the attic?
So when we're up here, so this is what we call a stick built.
Yeah.
So this is not an engineered truss system. So this was built here on the site rather than trucked in. And we're looking at these collar ties. If they're installed, we check to make sure that they're all in place. We're looking for any signs of cracking in the joists,
Yeah.
anything being cut.
So this is a natural piece of wood It has imperfections in it. Like I can even see like, you know, a little piece, you can grab it, but that doesn't mean
You've
it's
got knots and stuff like
it's
that.
defective. It's just a natural piece of wood. It has knots like that.
Yep.
So you're looking for anything that is really major, like a huge crack with separations or something sagging.
Right, or even signs of repair, maybe where they sistered something up to help hold it together.
Yeah.
That's something that we would be looking at.
Sometimes homeowners will drill holes for some strange reason or cut into them.
Exactly. We don't want to see any of that. Any modification to a structural member like this requires the evaluation of a structural engineer.
Yeah, and then the roof on the outside looked good, and you're looking for any kind of signs of water penetration.
Any kinds of signs of water penetration.
Like we saw at that pipe.
Right. OSB board doesn't like that water, and it'll start to separate over time.
And do you see any signs of roof leaks other than what you found at the pipe?
Just the ones at the pipe. I didn't see any other issues.
Yeah.
And I don't see any exposed nails. So sometimes homeowners will be concerned about something like this.
Yeah.
A little corner chip.
Yeah.
A lot of times like that, that's not structural.
Right.
It's just from somebody shooting a nail.
Right.
And
below us, we're standing on the attic floor.
Yep,
There's
this is the attic
insulation.
floor. There's insulation, so we'll check for the depth of it if we have access to it. Now this one's floored eave to eave, so we don't actually have access to it. It might be batt insulation, it might be blown insulation.
Right. And on the outside, remember you saw that the ridge vent is sealed.
Yep.
So it's way up there, and there's soffit vents.
Yep.
On the edge, and I can see daylight.
You can see, right, that we would expect to see that daylight that makes sure that it's open. And so it draws that fresh air in, and then exhausts the hot air out through the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
What else are you looking at?
We're looking at all these pipes, making sure they're
What are these?
they're sloped.
What's this?
So this pipe here, this may be coming off of a bathroom, most likely is, and it is equalizing the pressure in the waste drain line as everything goes down. It's giving it that pressure somewhere to go.
Yep.
Normally on the roof, if we spelled sewer gases or something like that, they might have a ventilation issue.
So this is another one, and this one goes up
Correct.
and right up through the roof.
Yep.
And
And we can
again,
see another
some watermarks.
Watermark, correct. So we'll check that one as well.
Nothing.
Nothing. So again, it may be an older issue that has already been fixed,
Yep.
but we want to let the homeowner know, just keep an eye on it.
Yeah. And it may have caused some
May have caused
water
a little bit
stains,
here.
but
Yep.
nothing structural.
Nothing structural.
Sometimes roof leaks are let go for years,
Yes.
and they cause structural damage.
Indeed, yeah.
But you
Water,
didn't see that here.
not very often.
Yeah.
Not very often at all. But
And this is okay. This isn't structurally damaged.
no.
It's just some watermarks.
Yeah, just some watermarks, correct.
Yep. Cool.
They may have actually moved it at some point because you can see there's another hole there.
Yeah.
So
Yep. They added and plumbed something new downstairs.
yep. She mentioned a bathroom renovation, so that's probably what that is.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it for the attic stuff. I don't see any other issues. So one of the first things I check when I come into a bathroom is I'll check the doors, make sure that they all close, they latch properly. I'm looking at the flooring to see if there's any kind of cracking depending on what type of material it is. If it's tile, luxury vinyl plank. We describe all of that information in the report, so the homeowner knows or the buyer knows, and they're educated on what they have. And then the other thing that we like to do in the bathroom is we do a pressure test or a functional flow test.
Yeah.
So we'll turn on the hot water on all the fixtures,
Okay.
and we'll check the temperatures, see how it's flowing, and how it responds to demand.
Okay.
See if I can do this without getting wet. Good luck.
I don't know how you're going to do that.
All right.
There you go.
There we go. Make it quick. So right now with just the shower running and the two
Right.
sinks, I see that there's good flow. I'll flush the toilet as well, see how it responds.
Functional flow. we call
Functional
it.
flow, right. So I'll
right.
flush this toilet.
Yep.
We'll just take a look and we'll see. Is everything still usable?
I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep. So this one passes the functional flow test.
Okay.
I'm gonna check for hot water. Sometimes it takes a minute to warm up. Yep. Good.
And then what else?
So with the jet tubs, we do not test the jet tubs,
Okay.
but we do check to make sure that the hot water is installed on the right side. Because it's flipped, sometimes we'll find the hot water on the wrong side of the faucet.
Right.
So
So where should the hot water be?
It should be on the left side when you're facing the faucet. So you kind of have to imagine yourself in the tub, and turned around looking at the faucet, and it should be on the left side, which it is in this case.
Because when you're in the tub and adjusting the hot water, that's on the left.
Exactly.
Just like every sink.
Just like every sink,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. Now we've got good hot water coming out of here. The auxiliary shower head works.
Yep.
So we'll usually run this for a little bit so we get water in the pipes.
Yep.
And then as we move down throughout the house, we'll see if there's any water stains or something like that, that going on underneath this.
And how about receptacles?
Receptacles, we do GFCI tests.
Yep.
That one's got a bunch of stuff in it.
There's a receptacle here.
This one too. Here, we'll just slide that out of the way.
So this is a GFCI receptacle.
Yep, so this is a
testing
GFCI. Yep, and this one will tell me, I like this tester because like yours, it'll tell me whether
this
it's
is
correct
not like
wiring.
mine. Mine's cheap.
Yeah.
And yours is expensive.
It'll tell me open, neutral, open, hot, whether it's been reversed or anything like that. So there we go. We've got a green light.
Okay.
So it's been wired properly.
Green's good.
And then we'll just make sure it pops. So now we see open, hot, and then we'll push the reset and make sure that it goes back to properly set.
And again, that protects you from getting shocked.
Correct, yeah. And that's required anywhere where we're introducing water. So bathrooms, kitchens, laundry rooms, garages, and all the exterior circuits should be GFCI protected.
And a fan,
Yep.
I see.
We'll test the fan. We'll make sure that runs.
I saw that go through the attic and outside.
Correct, yep. So we hear it run. Now they're supposed to be 50 cubic feet per minute.
Yeah.
They don't sell anything less, so we don't have to necessarily calculate the volume that it's pushing out.
You are not doing air pressure, house pressure, depressurized test or duct blasting or anything like that.
No, that exceeds,
that's beyond.
Well exceeds the expectations for a home inspection.
Yep.
So we'll check the bottom of the cabinets as we kind of finish up. Now, homeowner, they have their stuff in here all the time. So we'll put a disclaimer in the report, limited views. But normally what we're looking at is we're looking to see how they trapped it, whether they used a flexible tailpipe or not. I find that quite wrong here.
There you go.
Yep, and then we're looking for any signs of moisture coming off of the bottom of that. We're looking at the connection pipes back there. We'll look at what type of pipes they are. If they're polybutylene or something like that, we can check that here.
So that's dry.
Yep.
And the pipes look okay.
Yep, and it's properly installed.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. Then we just take one final loop around. We'll check the ceiling. Any roof leaks that might be coming down, they're going to follow the path of least resistance. So they'll find the corner of a room or the seam of the drywall, and that's usually where we'll spot it first.
Oh yeah. Great. It looks like a
looks
good
great.
functional bathroom.
Yeah, looks great in here.
All right.
And all the doors work, latch.
Fancy.
All the light bulbs work.
Yeah.
Poke a head in a closet. Again, closets are one of the more overlooked places in somebody's house.
Yeah.
So we'll poke our heads in there. We'll look at the ceiling.
Look up.
And we're looking for that water stain.
Yep.
Here in the master bedroom, we want to see a smoke detector, which we see there. It's plugged in. I see the light on it. We'll test these. Sometimes we have to be careful if they're attached to security systems, which is becoming a lot more common. If you test it, it'll send the fire department. So
I've done that.
Guilty as charged.
I've done that as a home inspector. And I can hear them coming down the street, and I'm like, well, at least
They're always
it
so
works.
disappointed too, because they expected to see something. And you're like,
they were
"No,
rushing
no."
in with all the equipment. I'm like, yep, I'm the home inspector.
Busted. That's a mistake. A home inspector only makes once.
Right. But you'll test them.
We'll
They're
test
battery operated and hardwired.
And they should be interconnected. So if we set one off, they should all go off. And
off.
we'll test them and we'll kind of walk through and make sure that we hear them all.
Now, if they're not modern, wired up to modern standards, at least you can throw in a new detector.
You can throw in a new detector, and now they even make ones that are Bluetooth interconnected. So you don't have to have an electrician hardwire them.
Wow.
And they'll still be interconnected and meet
That's really
standards.
good. That's really good. Cool.
Cool. So in here, we'll test, again, doors. We'll test doors, windows, make sure everything latches and closes. We'll go around and check the outlets inside the bedrooms. Now, all the
Are
bedrooms
you going to test all of the receptacles?
we do, but I'll just test a few. The standard here in North Carolina is just one per wall. You just have to do a representative number. Yep. So we'll test them.
And this is not GFCI protected.
These are not GFCI protected, but they should be AFCI protected.
And there's a difference.
And there is a difference. Yep. One is arc fault and one is ground fault. The AFCI ones, we typically find those breakers in the distribution panel.
Yeah.
So, and there'll be a push button. In an occupied home, we won't test those because we can damage electronics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But new construction, vacant homes, we'll test those right there at the breaker.
And the manufacturer recommends testing them. If it says test and a button right there, you just push it and it should test.
Exactly. Yep. Let's see, they got all their windows blocked.
Now, do you move furniture? Do you lift rugs?
We do
you picking
not.
up a bed here?
Nope.
No.
Nope. We don't handle anybody's personal belongings for any reason.
Yeah. So it's a limited restriction.
It's a limited.
A limited inspection.
Yes, it's a limitation on our inspection. So we can't see behind furniture, underneath the carpets, stuff like that, to see what's going on. And we detail that in the report.
Yeah.
So the buyers are aware, homeowners are aware.
Now, what if I was one of your clients and I saw a stain on the carpet, something like a blemish or a cosmetic issue?
Generally, we don't report on cosmetic issues.
Yeah.
If it's severe enough, we might say something, you know, but a spot here or there, we typically don't say anything. We may let them know in our verbal debrief about something like that, but cosmetic issues generally aren't reported.
Because the information that really I need as a client of yours, as maybe a new homeowner, is the big stuff, the really important things.
Right, and we don't want to drown that out with small stuff that may be cosmetic and inconsequential.
Right.
We want to focus on how's the house itself, the structure of the house.
Got it.
All right, so now we're here in the kitchen, and we're going to do a kitchen inspection. And what I like to do is I like to start with the microwave and the range and the oven. And so I've got this fancy little tester here and my shot glass. It's not because I like drinking on the job. It's so I can test the microwave. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with water. Put a little bit of water in there.
All right. I'm going to see this.
And then
What's Jared got?
This has a little component in it. And when it receives the waves from the microwave, it should light up.
Okay.
And that's
the
how we
water
test.
is in there just to absorb the microwave.
Right, and prevent
Bouncing
damage from the
around.
tool
Yeah.
to the tool or anything like that. So we'll start this. And we don't want to run this for more than
There it
10
goes.
seconds. So now we see it lit up. So we know
That's
that
cool.
the microwave is actually working.
Yeah, that's a cool device. I like that a lot. And I can hit
Right, and then I can hit the shot. Although it maybe works against me because it does say Grimm's drinking team. So we'll test the oven. We'll set this on. We'll make sure it works. I like to set them at 400 degrees.
Okay.
For the electric ovens, this one's gas fired, but for the electric ones, we can see that the burner element actually glows bright orange, and we take a picture of that as just to show that it works.
Just to show it works.
Yep. So while that's warming up, we'll come over here and we'll test the cooktop here. I'm going to slide this out of our way.
Sure.
Let's see. The light does not work.
Well,
And
maybe
they actually
what's
don't
that
have
switch there?
They don't have a hood.
There it is.
There we go.
That's a secondary one.
Yep. So, this is cool. So we don't see many of these systems often very much. This is actually considered a downdraft system. So our exhaust fan, let's see if it works. No, another. It might not
Maybe it
work.
was turned off.
Yeah, it might not. It might not. A lot of times I find that they're not functioning.
So this one here, if it was functioning, would raise up, suck air right there, and then discharge it down somewhere down the wall.
There's an
and
exhaust
out.
pipe out to the side,
Yeah.
wall somewhere
I see.
underneath that. It's unfortunate that it's not working because we don't see those very often.
But we do have an exhaust fan. Oh no,
There's no exhaust fan up here.
Oh, so you really want an exhaust.
We want this to work, and so we would call this out as being in operation.
Okay, I get it.
Yep. So, and the next thing we do, we'll just turn these on, make sure they all light. There we go. There we go.
Do you cook eggs or anything while you're here?
Not while I'm on my inspections, no. Although I could go for a snag. We check the flame, make sure that it's blue, there's no orange. If it's orange, it could be an incomplete burn. It could have contaminants in the fuel source itself. So, but this looks fine. This looks good.
Yep.
The other thing that we want to check with these is back here underneath the cabinet, we want to make sure that there's a shutoff valve for the fuel line.
Yeah. Because that's gas-fired appliance, right?
Correct. Yep. And so I see one right there.
Yeah.
Coming up on that CSST line. And
So
now
if there's a problem, that's where I grab the shutoff.
that's where the first shutoff is.
And look
right
at that.
back
That's
there.
the fan for the fan that doesn't work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's our motor and everything
Yep.
for that. Yep. Uh-oh.
Oh. Oh,
Just
a little jar.
Yeah, just a jar. The next thing that we'll test, we do look at the refrigerator.
Yeah.
We take note of the model number
Okay.
for our clients, because sometimes what will happen is these, if they are negotiated into the contract, the seller will sometimes take them with them,
Right.
and then they don't know what to replace them with.
Yeah.
And so they'll have the model number there.
Yeah.
We'll take the temperature gun,
Yeah.
check the temperature, make sure that it's actually cold.
Yeah. You got
It's
it?
freezing.
Yeah, let's do it.
38 degrees, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and we'll check the lower ones. We don't want to be like that real estate agent that got fined $20,000, so don't drink anything out of the fridge.
I don't know that one.
You never heard about that? It was
No.
a huge lawsuit last year. Yeah, somebody had a nanny cam and caught the real estate agent taking a swig out of their milk jug or something like that.
geez.
Yeah,
Not
it was
good.
wild.
Not good.
Not good. So don't do that. Then we'll come over here to the sink.
Yep.
We'll check the dishwasher, make sure that it's installed properly, it's mounted.
Sometimes
secure.
they're just loose.
Sometimes they're loose.
I
Sometimes
find it all the time.
they forget to bolt it to the counter.
Yeah.
A lot of times with the granite countertops, some people are a little bit hesitant to
Right.
bolt them because they don't want to crack the countertop.
Yeah.
So there's a metal lathe that actually gets installed underneath here that you can screw into.
Yep.
Yep. So this is nice and secure.
Yeah. Or if you don't do that, you can actually like try to crank up the adjustment legs
Yeah.
to really
and
force
really
it
push
up
it
there.
up.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
There's a
So
couple ways.
This one's
Do you do
good.
a cycle?
We do. Yep. We do a complete cycle, and it looks like it's going to start.
Yeah.
Maybe on, off.
And what if it leaks on the floor?
If it leaks on the floor, we usually find that during the drain cycle.
Yeah.
So as it drains out, it'll drain out of the bottom. A lot of times, so this is hardwood, so we could actually see.
Yeah.
We'll see whether it's been leaking. The floor will be discolored. And
Yeah.
I don't see any of that here.
No.
Occasionally, I'll take the moisture meter and just double check it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can catch a problem early enough before it really gets into the wood, and it's reading 3%, which
That's dry.
That's very dry.
Yep.
Yep. So I don't see any issues here.
Boy, that's a really handy tool.
Yep.
And the
And-
sink?
Yep. One of the last things we do is we check the sink. So this one's equipped with a disposal. So we'll run that. Sounds like it's running. I don't hear any
That's
odd noises.
nice and quiet.
Nice and quiet.
Yeah.
No odd noises. No sharp metal noises.
It's not shaking the whole
Not
sink.
shaking the whole thing. So we'll check for functionality. So that works. We'll check for hot water install. And again, just like in the bathrooms, we're going to check underneath here
Yep.
for any signs of leakage.
Yep.
We're looking to see where the tail line or the drain line for the dishwasher comes.
Yep.
So this is in a high loop format. So it comes up out of the top of the cabinet back
Yep.
there and then comes down and meets the disposal. That's the correct installation.
Yeah.
A lot of modern dishwashers have an internal high
Their
loop,
own, right.
but we still want to see it like this so we can verify it.
Yep.
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 And again, we're looking for any water, any signs of leakage, any staining, what types of pipes we have in here.
Looks good.
Looks good.
And all the receptacles on a kitchen counter should be GFCI
Should be
protected.
GFCI,
Can I
correct.
use my little device here?
Yep.
Not as fancy as yours. And I'll use the test.
Beautiful. And I heard it pop
tripped
over here.
there.
So we'll reset it, make sure it comes back on.
Yep. Looks good.
Excellent. Yep. And then one spot that's overlooked is islands. We want to
Okay.
make sure that they have outlets as well.
Okay.
And that they are also GFCI protected.
I don't have one.
There's one here on this end.
Okay.
So we'll test that one.
And also, do you wiggle them? Make sure
Yeah,
that
we
they're-
wiggle them a little bit, make sure that they're mounted properly.
Yeah. They shouldn't move.
They shouldn't move unless they're one of the mobile ones. So good. We heard that one pop over here.
Yep. Tripped over there.
Reset. And we're good. It reset properly.
Awesome.
So
And then do you open and close all the drawers? And
I do, yep. We do
Yeah.
a functionality test. We'll check all of them. We'll check the back of the cabinets. Sometimes I had a fun story. Cabinet kind of like this, somebody had mounted something there over the range hood.
Yeah.
And they ran a nail or screw into the main waste pipe for the upstairs
Yeah.
bathrooms. And so
Yeah.
it was leaking inside of the wall for who knows how long.
Wow.
And the only way that we could tell was because the back of the cabinet was completely destroyed.
So you had to put all that together
Yep.
and figure out that it was just this one little screw because
Exactly.
the homeowner did their own cabinetry.
Exactly.
They hung it
Yeah,
on
they
the
hung a
wall.
picture or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it didn't leak until that screw or nail corroded out.
Huh.
And once it did, that was that.
And that's where your moisture meter comes in here.
And that's where the moisture meter comes in handy. We can see if it's active.
Yep.
So,
Great. We better turn off the oven.
yep. So this one, there's no heating. Well, there is a heating element, but there's no visual indication for us to see whether it's on or not.
Yep.
So we'll check for heat on the back of the hand. We might use the laser tester, something like that.
I think that wraps up the kitchen.
That wraps up the kitchen. Yep.
All right. Good kitchen inspection. So we got a couple of things. The main one is really the vent.
Yeah,
for the range.
In-operational vent. Yeah. We definitely want that because you don't want that grease and heat accumulating in this faux range hood.
And it really should be exhausting outside.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we're now in the garage part of our inspection here, and so some of the things that we're looking for here is we're looking along the foundation wall in particular for any hairline fractures, like I see one there on that corner. We're looking for maybe mud tubes from termites or pests.
Subterranean termites.
Yep. So we're looking for those. We don't call them termites in our reports. They're wood-destroying organisms,
That's right.
Because it's a separate license. But we're looking at any cracking in the concrete, cracking in the walls, this moisture staining here in the ceiling. We're taking a look at that.
So there's an active leak or maybe a prior leak, and it came through the ceiling of the garage.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And
so we'll run some water up there.
We'll run some water. We might climb up there on a ladder and test it with the moisture meter to determine whether or not it's active.
Yeah. Yep. So you're looking at the walls and ceilings, looking for cracks at the exposed foundation and any kind of stains or holes in the ceiling or the drywall.
Correct.
You don't want any of that stuff.
We don't want any of that, especially with the drywall, because there's a cardboard backer on the back of that, and the moisture loves that. So by the time that you see it on the surface, there's no telling what it looks like inside the cavity of the wall.
That's right. That's right.
So we may even take a thermal camera and take a look at it and see what the temperatures are. That could help us tell if it's active or not as well. Some other things that we're looking for here on the garage doors in particular, we're taking a look at these laser eyes to see if they're at the correct height. They're supposed to be installed within 6 inches of the floor. Every now and then I'll find somebody has moved them up. And that's just to prevent, in case an object or something is laying in the doorway, it's going to send this door back rather than send it.
Should we test it?
Yep, and that's what we do as part of our inspection. So I'll go hit the button and we'll check it.
I'll do the foot. So as the door comes down, the laser beam is sending a signal, and if it's interrupted, the door should bounce back automatically, and it does. So that's a good test. And we can do this other garage door as well. Jared hits that one. And the idea is to, again, help small kids if they're playing underneath. The garage door is the biggest item that moves in a house. So we want this safety feature to work. So that worked, Jared.
Good. The other test that we'll do with the garage doors is a pressure test. And there's a pressure sensor inside of the motor so that if it does come down on something and it feels that resistance, it should send the door back up as well. The manufacturer, the proper way to test them is to take a 2x4 and lay it right here in the middle and do that. Sometimes though, you can damage the door by doing that. So we like to put physical resistance on it and we'll just push back up on it a little bit and see if it sends the door back up.
You want to give that a try?
We'll give that a shot.
You do it. Then
I do it? You want to push the button? All right, you go ahead.
I want to push the button on that one.
You can push the button.
Okay, ready?
Yep. Perfect.
That's great.
It does. It only takes about 50 pounds of resistance. It's very light.
Very light.
If it's calibrated properly, it should go right back up.
Yeah, you're not deadlifting this garage door.
Exactly right. You don't want to cause damage. Beautiful.
Anything else you're looking at?
We'll look at the motor itself. We'll look at whether or not the chain rail has been installed level, like in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. And I can see from here that one is not. What ends up happening is they buy these preset cuts of metal and they always install it in the last hole rather than leveling them out properly. That's going to put more wear and tear on the motor itself. We check the chain rail or the chain itself to see if it's loose, if it's sagging during operation.
Yep.
That can cause issues as well.
Yeah.
And then one last thing that we like to test is the
Pull that.
emergency disconnect. So we want to make sure that this disconnects properly,
Yep.
and then it comes down, and then that will reconnect properly as intended.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Oftentimes the handle is missing,
Yep.
or it's too high.
They're
No one
tied
can
up.
grab it.
Right.
Yeah, it's tied up.
Yep.
Sometimes the motor is plugged into an extension cord.
Yes, we'll see that every now and then as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And we want to make sure that these outlets up there are GFCI. So when the garage GFCI trips, these lights should go out, and that
Yeah.
tells us that they're GFCI protected.
GFCI protected.
Yep.
All right. And I see inside the garage there are 2 electrical panels.
Yeah, let's go take a look at those.
Okay.
So we've got 2 distribution panels here in the garage, and we can see here's our AFCI
Yep.
protection for all of our bedrooms.
Yep.
Now it's an occupied house, so we won't test these because they're going to have appliances and stuff plugged in, and we don't want to potentially cause any damage. And
But the homeowner can do that
the homeowner can do that
on their own using the buttons
Yep.
that the manufacturer has, and it literally says test.
Yep.
And you test it, and it turns off.
Correct.
And then they turn it off and turn it back on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And electricity should go back on.
Yep.
What if you, as a home inspector, sees one of these breakers that's in the off position?
So if we open these up and it's already in the off position, we disclaim it. We
Yeah.
don't energize it. We don't know if there's somebody in the house potentially working on that circuit.
Yeah.
We don't want to cause injury.
Right.
So we
You can't just turn it on.
right. Yeah. So we let them know in our written report,
Yeah.
hey, we didn't turn these on.
Yeah.
Have an electrician come look at these, and maybe they know why it was turned off.
Yeah.
And they can be responsible for turning it back
Yeah.
on.
And then sometimes, if there's a problem, there will be a breaker that's in the tripped off position, which is
Yes.
kind of like in the middle.
Where it's in the middle.
And that's a problem.
Yes.
I mean, it's not really a problem because the breaker did its job, but
Correct.
it's a problem. Don't reset it.
Don't reset it.
There's some kind of electrical problem at
Correct.
that circuit.
Yep. And these ones don't necessarily have that little orange indicator that'll tell you that. But
Yep.
yeah, if it's in the tripped position, that's an issue.
Yep. And I see car chargers, so they have a
Yep.
Tesla
We got a
charger
Tesla
there.
charger in here. We don't necessarily test these because these are 240 volt.
Yeah.
But we do make note that they're present.
Yep.
And
So
then
open that up again.
we want to make sure all these labels are legible.
Yeah.
So that we know which circuit is what.
And there isn't any main disconnect here.
Correct.
So the disconnects we saw earlier
Right.
on the left side of the
outside.
house. Yeah.
Yep. And that's okay. These aren't required to have service disconnects.
Do you remove the dead front covers?
We do. Yep. We'll take these off and we'll make sure that the neutral wires and the ground wires are separated
Yep.
in the distribution panel
Yep.
like they should be. Nothing's double tapped, no 2 white wires together under the
Yeah.
same screw.
Yeah.
And again, we're checking wire gauge to make sure that they're the proper gauge for the
Yep.
amperage of the breaker. So this wire here, this conduit,
Yeah.
could potentially be an issue. It might not be an issue, depending on how they connected it inside of the panel, depending on what it runs to. This may be a modification for something. So we might make note of this and just say monitor.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we'll go ahead and pull this dead front cover off, and we'll take a look at inside.
Okay.
So when we take the dead front covers off, we always put the back of our hand to it to
Yep.
hold it in place. We
Yep.
don't want to have our fingers around anything because your hand tends to seize
That's right.
when you have electrical charge. So we just put it back to it.
And home inspectors are not required to remove the dead front.
Correct. Yeah, home inspectors are not required to do this. It's depending on your confidence level and education level. And we're just going to protect ourselves from arches, pull
Yep.
straight away, just like that. So
So what do you see?
what we got in here? So we're checking to see if all these wires that come in here, if they're in these retention devices. Every hole through the side of an electric panel should have a retention device.
Yeah.
And that's just to protect the wire from touching the sharp metal and potentially breaking the seal.
Yep.
And it helps hold them in place. And this panel looks really nice.
I was going to say it's one of the neatest panels I've seen. The
Indeed.
electrician
Whoever
really
did this.
split the neutrals and grounds going that way and that
Yep.
way, and all the lines are going in.
Yep. Turn 90 degrees. Whoever did this did a really good job.
Yeah.
So we see the tie together. So we've got neutrals on both sides of the panel,
Yep.
and we want to make sure that those are tied together. And we see the tying strap
Yep.
up there at the top of the
At the
panel.
top.
Yep. It looks like everything is, I don't see any doubled up white wires. And then we'll just kind of visually check the wire gauges. So
And what I do is I look for the common problem, which is like a 20 amp breaker on a thin gauge wire.
Yeah, on a 14 gauge wire
Yeah.
or something like that. Yep, 15, 14, 20, 12 is kind of what I say to myself
That's
as
right.
I go through,
Yeah.
just to check. So, and I don't see any size issues here. I don't see any scorching of the wires.
Anything melting.
Anything melting,
Yeah.
anything like that. You can take a thermometer and check the temperatures of the breakers, because sometimes an overheating breaker can be an issue. Let's see, is that? Oh, that's good. So we've got double tap ground wires, which is okay. So 2 ground wires under the same screw is okay.
Yep.
They have to be the same gauge
Size.
wire.
Yeah.
Otherwise that screw is only going to hold on to the larger one and you can have grounding issues.
Yep.
So, but they didn't do that here. So this looks really nice.
Yeah. And no water.
And no water, no corrosion, no dead bugs or anything in here.
That's great.
We'll check the main connection where the line set comes in. We'll want to see that get caulk sealed.
Yep.
And that just prevents bugs from getting into it. They love the heat that the electrical systems put out,
Yep.
so they'll use it as a raceway.
Yep. So this conduit here comes here, and I was following the black line, and it looks
Yep.
like it goes to that 20 amp breaker at the bottom right. So
Yep.
somebody added that after the house was built.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but I don't see any issues with it.
Right.
So we want to make sure that they're blunt tips. Metal machine screw or sharp tip screws aren't allowed in electrical panels because you can potentially puncture a wire, and now you have a live panel.
Yep.
So
Yep.
go ahead and put this right back. Make sure this lines up. You don't trip anything during the installation or replacement of this. Get that in there. You gotta go up a little bit. Oops. There we go. Beautiful. Wonderful. Let's get a couple of them started. Take my screwdriver.
One time I removed a dead front cover, and I looked on the back side of it. I pulled it off and I looked on the back side of it, and it was scorched.
Yep.
And I looked in the panel, and there was some kind of messed up wiring. Someone tapped two wires together, brought in a new line and tapped it to the old one or something like that on the legs. And it apparently it touched the dead front cover and scorched it. I'm like,
Yep.
I didn't put it back on.
No.
I tagged the entire laundry room. I said, no one go in the laundry room.
Yep.
I removed the dead front cover. We need an electrician in here ASAP. I am not putting this back on.
Correct. You don't want to make it worse.
Yeah.
For sure.
You want to do the other one? Take a look
Let's
while
do
we're
that.
here.
We'll check this one too.
Yep.
Hopefully the same electrician did this side.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It does look like it.
Yep.
So I see an issue here. So we've got this neutral wire that has been cut off.
Yeah.
So any disconnected wires like this should have a wire nut on them.
Yeah.
It's okay to have the wire nut and be loose in the panel, but this is just exposed neutral wire here. So this is a defect that we would call out.
And if it somehow is active, live,
correct,
and somebody touches it, like my finger,
right,
that's not a good thing.
Not a good thing. Yep. Shocking hazard for sure.
Yep.
So tension clips look good. Neutral wires look good.
It's clean. All the wires are straight.
Yep. No mismatching gauges on the wires.
Remember on a home inspection, I tripped a GFCI in a garage, and it was, I think I tripped something in the basement, and it tripped off in the garage, and I forgot to reset it.
Oh no.
And I forgot that there was a cooler of wine in the garage, and the cooler of wine is plugged into something with a GFCI, of course, and I tripped it off. Yada yada. A couple days later, I come back with wine.
You've replaced all the wine.
Yeah, and some flowers.
Yeah.
And an apology. And I told all the real estate agents what I had done.
Yep.
I messed up.
Yep.
But I made everybody whole.
That's right.
And that story went around
Yep.
the whole office, and I got a ton of real estate referrals from it.
Absolutely.
From making a mistake, but owning up to it and making everybody whole.
Yep.
So it's okay to make a mistake. We all make mistakes, but
yep.
You know.
Not too long ago, I had a house that had a moisture stain in the ceiling, and I think the client walked in, or I got distracted and forgot to check the box, And same thing, a couple days later, hey, did you see this moisture stain? I did see it,
Did see
but it's
it.
not in your report. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ended up having to replace some drywall
Yeah.
and get the problem fixed. But they were so appreciative of it.
Yep.
If you make a mistake, just own up to it.
Yeah. Yep.
There we
All
go.
right.
All right.
So
that's
the
electrical
panels
system.
have been inspected and they look good.
Yep, they look good. Ooh, yeah, this one looks like it's had issues.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's actively dripping from this one.
Yep.
So this is like secondary backup.
Yeah. Yep. So
and it's dripping.
Yep.
But I just heard the sump pump turn
I heard
on.
the pump turn on.
Yeah.
Yep. So there may be some additional internal issues in here, or maybe there's a primary drain issue that's not getting all of it out.
Yeah.
So we could look at the manufacturer's installation instructions to figure out which one is which.
Yep.
And that will tell us, but we would definitely want to call that out.
Yep.
And it looks, I mean, all this white crystalline deposit in the bottom of this pan is sign of moisture intrusion.
Yeah.
So they've probably had other issues where it filled up the pan before.
Yeah.
So this is a high efficiency unit. You can tell by the PVC pipes for your intake and your exhaust.
So is it gas fired?
Yep.
Just like up in the attic, gas fired, shut off valve, burners in here.
Yep.
Air conditioner, evaporator coils in here.
Yep.
It makes condensate water.
Correct.
Naturally, and it drains out, but you got to pay attention to where it's draining, just like roof downspouts.
Right.
And that one is draining into a catch pan.
Yep.
Catch pan is really just for backup emergency.
Backup emergency.
It's not supposed to be used.
Correct. Yeah.
Unless there's something wrong, and so there's something wrong.
Correct. There's something wrong here. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And you'll turn on the units and do a delta T measurement.
Yeah. This one, I don't see any holes that have already been tapped into it. So we won't drill new holes to do the delta T test, only if they're pre-existing from the installer. So this one we would have to do with the laser thermometer at the register in the intake.
Yeah, so you'll find the intake register upstairs and the floor register.
We'll check the
supply.
registers for the supply, correct.
How's the other heater doing?
So this one looks like it may have had some of the same issues. I see some corrosion here around the bottom of that.
Right.
This looks like an older unit. We can take the cover off and find out exactly what the age is. This one's easy. Just separate like that. Oh, there's a machine screw that came out. So we'll look at the serial number. This one actually has the date of manufacture, August of 2006.
Yep.
So this is original to the house. That's 18 years old. So we would describe these as being beyond its expected service life.
Yeah.
And we would want an HVAC technician to come really take a look at it. I see some corrosion inside of the panel here itself. You can see some water standing in there.
Yep.
So that may be a condensation issue with the exhaust pipe.
Yep. Also, I see on the side of the ductwork there.
Yep. We've got some leakage there.
Yep. Not sure what from,
Nope.
but it should never be leaking into the pan.
Correct. Yeah. The pans are not a primary discharge source or pathway.
And these units are related to the air conditioning units on the outside that were tilted.
Yep. Yep.
So we need an HVAC technician to come.
Absolutely. Yep.
And they may say, oh yeah, I was just out there last year. No, right? Because you found something that indicates that there's other problems that they haven't addressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and they'll get to do all the things like take it apart, look at the heat exchanger that we don't get to do as general home inspectors.
Yep.
So.
All right, what else are we looking at? We're in an unfinished basement, so that gives you an opportunity to take a look at the floor structure.
Yeah, so we've got an engineered floor truss system, which tends to be more uncommon. And we've got joist hangers and steel rebar here. So we're gonna look for load paths. So we see that the steel rebar is resting on a stud pack over there. Now, when this house was built in 2006, it probably didn't require the steel banding. But it would be required today. So we would want to see steel strapping across these stud packs, and that just helps prevent separation under the immense pressure and load that it's carrying, because it's carrying the entire weight of the floor system upstairs.
So there's a lot to look at. And you're seeing a big steel I-beam resting upon a bunch of studs, wooden studs that are supporting that steel I-beam. And you're saying there should be a strap on those studs.
Yeah. And it may not have been required
Right.
again at the time of construction,
Right.
but it would be
It's a good
something to
idea
look for
now.
today.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's very easy to do, actually.
Very easy to do. Yeah. Yep.
A contractor can come and help.
Exactly.
There's a lot to look at.
It is.
It's almost impossible for you to see everything. Again, you're just a home inspector. You're only here for a few hours.
Right. We're not going to catch every problem
Yeah.
that a house has or ever could have.
Yeah.
And we can't predict future conditions either.
Yep.
So we try to take in as much as we can and be as thorough as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Obviously, to benefit our client, we want to make sure that they're getting their money's worth and their value from us as inspectors.
So you're identifying the type of floor system. They're
Yep.
engineered trusses, which means they can span great distances.
Indeed.
And you're looking at the insulation.
Yep.
Looks like the floor of the living room area above us is insulated.
Yep.
And then the foundation, some of it has exposed, so we can see some of it, but not all of it.
Yep. So this is a concrete stem wall. They come in huge slabs that they just crane in the lower end because we're all subterranean right now.
Yeah.
So with these, we're definitely looking for cracking, signs of termites, any signs of moisture intrusion getting through, because if there's any moisture getting through, there's an issue with the waterproofing on the outside of the foundation. And this is really the only place that we can tell.
And that white pipe there, that's not part of the heating system. That's part of the sewer system.
Correct. Yeah. So this is the main waste drain line. So all of the pipes come down and connect. We want to make sure that this is properly sloped. It looks like it's all running downhill.
And that looks like it's tagged main water shutoff.
Yep.
So that's water coming in.
Yep. Water coming in. And then just above that yellow handle is your pressure regulator. And that controls all of the pressure throughout the house.
Yeah. So that's water coming in. If you need to turn off the water in emergency, right there.
And
that's all the drains coming out.
Yep.
And these are drainage pipes, and they should be securely strapped. And I see loose strap there.
Yep. This one's kind of loose. It's not doing much. So we would call that out. This one looks okay here.
Yeah.
That one looks okay.
Yeah.
So just this one missing. It was probably meant to be down here at some point.
Yeah.
And it slid off.
Yep.
But that's something we would definitely comment on.
And again, you can't see everything. It's really, I would love to see the bottom of the foundation wall to look for water.
Sure.
Because we had those downspouts.
Yep.
But you really can't see it. So one of the things I used to do is look for cardboard boxes that sat on the concrete floor. And if they were water damaged, then that must have been something going on in the basement.
Absolutely.
But I don't see anything here.
I'm not seeing anything either.
Yeah.
No cracking. I'm not seeing any moisture standing in any of these walls.
Are you doing a mold test here?
If the client selects it, we could. We could do an indoor air quality test.
Yeah. How do you feel the humidity or do you smell anything when you
I don't smell anything in here. It smells really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times especially with crawl spaces, you can tell if you have a moisture issue as soon as you open the door.
That's right.
So you can smell it.
All right.
Oh.
And I don't see any cracks
I don't
in
see
the
any
concrete.
cracks either. Nope. So.
And if there were, you could just epoxy patch them up.
Correct. Yep. If water was coming through them, you may have to dig on the outside of the foundation wall to reseal it with the foundation sealer. But I don't see any issues like that down here.
Okay.
No.
Well, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. So this is a Rinnai tankless water heater.
Yeah.
These are very efficient units. The expected service life is 15 to 20 years as opposed to a tank system, which is only 10 to 12, generally speaking. I don't see a recirculate pump or something like that attached, where you might see that on larger houses. 6,000 square foot or so might have a recirculation pump.
So that the fixture furthest away still has hot water.
Right. You might still have to wait a couple of seconds, but it's not going to take 5 minutes to warm up. This is a direct vent system. So rather than having a flue pipe that goes up and out somewhere, this one just goes out through the sidewall. The bottom of the pump here, so we've got an air gap for a TPR line.
Yeah.
Even though it's a tankless system, it's still required to have a TPR valve.
Because there's water, temperature, and pressure.
Yep. And so they've got their gas inlet on the far side there with its own pressure regulator.
Yep.
We see here.
So it's a gas-fired unit.
Gas-fired unit.
It's heating water as it comes in, and the idea is that it's unlimited hot water.
Correct.
It's supposed to run hot water out of that appliance as you use it.
Yep. And a lot of times right here on the label, we can see just this one is probably newer. They've stopped printing that information on the label, but sometimes, they're 202 gallons per minute or hour, or per hour.
So there's plenty of hot water.
Plenty of hot water, plenty of demand.
And you don't see any active leaks.
I don't see any active leaks. I don't see any signs of moisture intrusion.
That's good.
Yep. Looks like
And
they
we-
may have some backflow preventers installed here, these silver pieces.
Yep.
The pressure regulator, this little guy,
Yep.
the expansion tank. The manufacturer, Renine, will say that they're not required because it's a tankless system.
Yeah.
However, a lot of local jurisdictions still require it because of the pressure regulator in the house. It
Yeah.
creates a closed loop pressure system.
Yep.
So then you have to have these. And we'll do a tap test.
What's that?
So we can tell if the bladder is still intact.
Yeah.
We should hear the nice hollow ring on the empty side and a nice solid thud.
There
on the
was a
water-filled
difference
side.
there.
There was a difference.
Yeah.
So that's how we test.
Yeah. That's good.
Very simple test. See if we see anything else. Everything's hooked up. It's protected by a GFCI
Yep.
outlet because we are in an exterior unfinished space.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we get a little bit of the foundation wall here, or the sill plate. We can see there's an anchor bolt here.
Yep. And there's the temperature gauge. I see it's set at 125.
Yep, 125. We
That's gonna be
typically
hot.
don't recommend
Yeah.
anything higher than 120.
Yep.
Some people like their showers hot though.
Yep.
I've seen as high as 140, 145.
Yep.
So,
Good.
yep, this looks good to me.
And so in the corner here, there's a sewer ejector pump. And what it is, it's kind of like a sump pump for groundwater, discharging and pumping groundwater out. But this is for a toilet and a bathroom and a sink and a shower that's in the basement. It's in the basement, and when you flush the toilet and run water at the fixtures, it's using gravity, and it can't go uphill. So, that stuff goes downhill. So we need an ejector pump to turn it and eject it up into the sewer line, which we saw, which was in the basement by the heating system, is about head high. So it's discharging it out there. 2 pipes, one's for vent, one's for discharge. We just heard it discharge, and I feel it, and that sounded perfect. It sounded good, it discharged, and I heard it not drain back in. So there's a check valve here. It pumps it out, and it doesn't come back in. Otherwise, it'd be doing this all day long, right? So there's a check valve here, and it kind of wiggles, and it goes woo, and discharges and turns off. And you can hear we're running water at the bathroom sink, and you can hear it draining in there. Ideally, every nut would be sealed, and the gasket there would be sealed. You don't want to smell any of that stuff. There's electricity to the pump, 2 alarms. One is for a functional pump, and the other one is for an alarm. And you want to test your alarm just like you test your smoke detectors every once in a while. If you're in here, just test it. You don't want this to turn off and not work and not alarm you about it. So everything looks good. Everything's plugged in. We just tested it, and I would just seal up the sealant there. That's an easy homeowner thing to do. You don't want to smell that stuff, but it looks good. All right, Jarrett, we're at the end of the inspection, and we found a few things.
We did. Yep.
Yeah, and that is the point of having a home inspection.
Yep.
So you can inform your client with valuable information.
Yep.
And you document it with pictures and text so that they can make smart decisions on what to do
Right.
next.
Yeah, it's all about education and being informed.
And that's what you do for your clients. Your report isn't all about the bad things.
Right.
It's about how to maintain a home,
Correct.
not just fix the problems, but what to do next.
Correct. There's a lot of valuable educational information that we put in there,
Yeah.
like the types of pipes there are, their shutoffs, where they can be found,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it's not just a list of problems of this is all, makes it sound like it's going to fall down or something tomorrow, but that's not the case. We're trying to help the client
Yeah.
and educate them really.
And if I was your client, you want me at the inspection?
Correct. Yeah, we encourage you guys to come as our clients because we have an opportunity to talk with you face to face rather than just reading on the report. Now we get to give you some context and maybe some additional information.
Yeah.
It'd be time for you to measure the house, measure rooms, plan out whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And actually, I can see the shutoff valve that you show me. I can see
Exactly.
the water leaks in the attic
Right.
that you found.
Right. Yeah.
I know what you know.
Exactly.
That's really good.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you give me an inspection report?
We do. Yep. So our policies will give it to you within 24 hours of the inspection. A lot of times because of the efficiencies of modern softwares, we can get it to you the same day.
That's really great. This is a very good service that you do. And you are unique. You are a certified master inspector.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. I'm one
There's
of the
only a
very
few of you.
There's only a few of us. There's only 7 in Wake County, and there's only about 33 of us in the entire state.
And so if I'm a client of yours, I expect the best of the best. And
Exactly.
I get it
Yep.
from you.
Absolutely.
That's really great. That's really great. Well, Jarrett, again, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I enjoyed that.
I'm Ben Gromyko from InterNACHI.
And I'm Jarrett Vogler from Legacy Home Inspections.
And we'll see you at the next inspection.